Okay, so who got it right
Yeah.
here?
New one.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the August 14th Special Council meeting of the Village of Lytton, located at the Parish Hall today. I'd like to take a moment to remind everyone to turn off their videos, mute their microphones, and to allow council to begin proceedings. Just to let you know, we're all being recorded and broadcasted on the Village of Lytton YouTube channel. If you're looking for this meeting or any other, you can find it there. Thank you very much. Mayor O'Connor, you may call the meeting to order.
Thank you, Alba. I call this meeting to order at 1 o'clock. So the Village of Lytton recognizes that we live on the unceded traditional territory of the Entrecatan people. This afternoon, I'm here at the Parish Hall with Mike Blaschuk, who's here in the capacity of Deputy Corporate Officer in accordance with our council procedure bylaw. I'm also here this afternoon with Councillor McCann and Councillor Michelle. We have the other councillors, of course, on Zoom. So we'll start off by adoption of the agenda. So I call for a motion. Oh, sorry, before we do that, we have a late item to the agenda, and that's to talk about the temporary use permit that was taken off our past agenda. And we're looking at setting up a special meeting on September the 6th. So I will introduce that as item number 6.2 to the agenda. So can I please have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended? Councillor McCann, a seconder.
Councillor Lightfoot.
Thank you. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Now we'll move on to item number 4. And which is the adoption of the minutes from our previous special council meeting on May the 12th. So we need a motion.
So moved, Lightfoot.
Thank you. Seconder.
Seconded, Toss.
Thank you. Are there any errors or omissions? No, seeing none. All those in favor of adopting those minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
And carried. So next is item number 5, which is the public comment portion of the meeting. And I'm going to turn it back over to CEO Banman. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor O'Connor. Members of the public in person or in the meeting via Zoom are now invited to comment on matters related to the agenda. If you'd like to speak, please use the raise hand function on Zoom. If you're on Zoom, you can find that by clicking on reactions at the bottom of your screen and then clicking raise hand. When it's your turn, I'll read your name and we'll ask you to unmute yourself. You'll get a pop-up on your screen asking you to unmute. You have 2 minutes to speak. Please state your name and address and agenda item number that you're speaking for each comment. If anyone would like to speak, please raise their hand. If anyone would like to speak, please raise their hand or use the raise hand function in Zoom. And one last time, if anyone would like to speak, please use your raise hand function on Zoom or raise your hand in person. No hands raised at this time, Mayor O'Connor. Thank you for your.
Thank you. So we'll move on then to item number 6, which is our new business. And the reason that we called this special council meeting. So we have a report from our CIO. Am I going to turn it over to you, CIO Mombercat, or one of the recovery managers?
I'll just make a couple comments if that's all right, and then I will turn it over to Don Wong. So I just wanted to say, this item was on the agenda last week. We were requested to bring more information, which we have included in this report. I have just actually just a few minutes ago circulated a slightly revised resolution, just being more specific on the funding piece of the resolution. So I got some more information today about some of the numbers, and I wanted to include that in the resolution as we had the chance. So I'm now going to turn it over to Don Wong, and he's going to make a few comments about the report. Over to you, Don.
Okay. Hi, can everyone hear me? I just never know.
If you wouldn't
Just wanna
mind
say-
speaking up as loud as you can, it would be appreciated.
Okay, how about now? Is this better?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. I just want to say thank you for everybody for doing this special meeting, and apologies as I wrote the original report and I've left out some details and lacked some clarity. So sorry for that. I just want to give context of this report. This report's actually a follow-up and from a report that went into council back in June 14th concerning the backfilling and awarding the contract to LFN. The works in this report are kind of a follow through on that, where we're actually starting to put the contract together to do the formal backfilling. We did the first test date, we made some changes, and now this contract reflects the changes we've made. What you see before you really in items 1 to 12 within the budget part is a more complete, robust picture, and it really should be taken into different parts. Items 1 to 8 that are in there are really about prepping the village for the backfill. So removing some of the piles of dirt that were in town just to allow the trucks to get through and properly access things. Items 9 to 10, which is the crux of it, is really the fill coming from LFN, as well as the geotech and work to happen. Item 11, it's snow clearing, is only if required. So when this originally was thought up, it was, I guess in previous years, there wasn't a public works, or there weren't enough public works people on staff or any staff. And that work was contracted out. This year will more than likely be done by public works staff. So it's just putting in there for approval now. And there's a min fee, which will be, it's up for negotiation. That's the maximum amount. It probably won't be that. And that is going to LFN as the contract holder. This whole contract really is set up as a maximum upset under that original LFN approval. I think more than likely we won't be at that number, but just want to make council aware that that number of just over 4.6 million is a maximum upset.
Okay, thank you. So we have an motion sent to us, and I'd like to see who would put that motion forward. Councillor Lightfoot.
I move that council direct staff to enter into a contract with Lytton First Nation to have their subcontractor, Matt Kahn, remove industrial level hazardous waste and soils, and to provide backfill services to the village, with the funds to be allocated as follows: $600,000 from the contingency line in the $21 million grant, $1 million to be allocated from the $23.4 million grant, and the remaining 3.1 to be confirmed in the reprofiling of the undistributed $17.6 million grant. And that council authorized the chief administrative officer to execute the required documents for the award of the contract on behalf of the village of Lytton.
Thank you. A seconder? Councillor McCann.
I just wanted to know, how do we amend something while it's in this stage? Just a real tiny editing thing here. Can we do that? Because it says 3.1, and I'm pretty sure the word that follows that should be million, or is that $3.1, or what is that?
Mayor, sorry, go ahead, Councillor Lightfoot.
I think as a friendly amendment, we could clarify by adding million to the 3.1 million to be confirmed.
And before we do that, Councillor McCann, are you seconding the motion to be able to? Yes.
Yeah, I'll second
Okay.
it. Just kind of wanted to make sure that word got put in there.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so now we are going to open it up for comments and questions for CIO Marquette and Don Wong regarding this report. Are there any comments or questions? Councillor Toss?
Thank you so much, Mayor O'Connor, and thank you, Don Wong, for putting this together and everyone's patience making it work for all of us. I have questions around a few things. I'll open with the first 8 properties that were under the first part of this contract, just so I understand those still have work to be done that has been paid for. So these are invoices going forward. Correct. Okay. In the itemized items, I guess, that could be invoiced, there's soil removal, and then there's bringing the soil back in. And I'm a big believer in competition, and I'm wondering, you know, I've heard that it is not an exclusive contract in the report. And I'm not so sure, because from what I understand from Dawn, it still must go through LFN. Dawn, would you mind clarifying that? Because I'm thinking for soil removal, for those big piles of dirt, it'd be easy peasy to get another operator in there to assist with that work. I'm thinking of expediting it and how fast things have been going thus far.
Sure. Do you want me to jump in?
Sure. Thanks, Dawn.
This is Don. Yeah, we didn't want to delay. We thought it'd be the easiest option, since LFN is another government. The village is allowed to go government to government in terms of tenders or in awarding contracts versus going to the RFP. The level of requirements going to RFP, just because of the dollar value, we've had to go to public tender. We just wanted to be fast, really, and LFN offered it up as a possibility, and we jumped on it.
So may I
Thank you.
follow up on that, Mayor O'Connor?
Yes.
Thank you. So I guess the dollar value before it going to RFP that the province is comfortable with, from what I understand, is 200,000.
It's actually supposed to be 25,000.
Okay. All right. So our hands would be tied in that respect. And then going to an RFP for, say, assisting with the project with the village as the director, if you will, giving direction to the company. How long would that typically take? Say that we did want to introduce competition.
Generally, a minimum 3 months.
Okay.
Right. Sometimes it's a bit faster if there is, and just as full disclosure, if an organization like a municipality, if the village had folks on a roster already that we pre-approved,
Yeah.
it would be a bit quicker. You're probably looking more like a month or two, but not much. Right? It's a pretty simple job, really. You know, when we talked to LFN, we said, "Hey, could you help us with this?" They suggested MatCon. They had 3 options. MatCon was available. They have MatCon under contract as well, helping them out.
Right. Okay. But it doesn't preclude us going forward with another contractor in the future, should we choose.
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. It was more about speed.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments? Councillor Lightfoot.
I think the main concern that many of us had was the timely, how quickly this can be executed. And the snow removal, it wasn't so much the cost as the idea that we would be waiting till the snow flies to see this completed. So just wanted to clarify there. But the other question was, you know, we're adding close to $250,000. And if I read this correctly, LFN will serve as the role of contract manager. So I'm assuming, and I know we all know it's not great to assume, but we're hoping that this will be executed as soon as possible. However, there are other circumstances that may impact how fast they can do the job. one in particular being the archaeology and the heritage. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. The overseeing
KHC.
KHC. Thank you. So, you know, in our first test, there were some things that did not sit well with that committee. I'm wondering, with LFN as the contractor, will they be responsible to adhere to the work plans that we set out? Or will our recovery managers still be ultimately responsible for how those work plans are executed?
Okay, this is Don. May I jump in?
Yes, please, Dawn.
Just to talk through the process a little. So LFN, yes, would be the contractor, right? But because the works are happening in the village, everything still applies in the same process, right? We are still going to be, as the proponent, the village is still going to be overseeing and supervising all the works just to make sure they're done on the village's behalf, on time, on budget, and properly. Anything to do with whether it's archaeology and or work state, those are provincial conditions that we have to adhere by, right? So LFN ultimately was still going to report to us as the village, and that we still have to adhere by all the regulations that are required provincially. I hope that explains it.
Thank you, Dawn. Are there any other comments or questions?
Yes,
Councillor Toss?
thank you. Two follow-up questions around I've been told we're going to come back later.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry about that. I believe in the last meeting, it was 40 days, and that was clarified, like the 2.5 months is 40 work days. So I have two concerns around that. One, are we saying that this job is going to be completed in 40 days at a cost of upset of $4.6 million? Because that's $115,000 a day. So something doesn't jive there. So either our timeline is off or our cost, like it just doesn't seem to make sense to me. And on that same note about the 40 days and 2.5 months, while that's being clarified, perhaps we can find out what is the stumbling block for not working 7 days a week with a contract of this breadth?
Who would like to respond to that?
This is Don. Can I jump in
Yes.
again? Sorry to dominate this. The 40 days really is just an estimate. It's really going to be dependent on the approval process, as well as just essentially logistics and scheduling. I think 7 days a week is totally possible. I will echo the words of LFN and MatCon. They just would like to get this done as quickly as possible for the village. So my hope is it will be less than 40 days, but it's really just an estimate. I don't think it will be 2 months of work. If everything were to go perfectly, right, it takes anywhere from 4 to 6 days to backfill a zone. There are 6 zones that we're looking at doing, one to 6, starting from, I believe it's the south end of the village, the opposite end of the parish hall, where zone 7 we're going to look at separately because of ancestral remains. My hope is we can do it all as quickly as possible. My guess would be less days. The cost of the fill is also questionable. That's an estimate, right? Because we don't know the exact metric ton amount. That'll be sorted out as we go. Like I say, this is a maximum upset. We just wanted to do the worst case, most conservative scenario. If I were to hazard a guess, which I hate doing, but it'll come in faster at a lower cost overall. But that's our job to keep track of that and make sure that happens.
Thank you.
Mayor, comments through the mayor?
Councillor Toss, you have another question, yes?
Same question. I might suggest an amendment to this contract, like contingent on a 7-day-a-week work week. I feel that strongly that our residents have waited this long. This is a substantial contract. It's easy to get rotating shifts. We saw what happened with the Coquihalla being rebuilt. You know, I wonder why this is such a hard thing to do.
Hi, this is Don. If I could comment again. Sorry.
Yes.
I have brought it up, and it's a greater discussion. Part of that is out of our hands in terms of work safe and labor requirements. But if we can make it happen, we will. I don't think it's in the village's best interest to put it in the contract right now, because that changes the numbers. Right? And just to be clear, I have worked on some of these 7-day-a-week provincial infrastructure projects. They all come in at time and a half or double time because of those extra work days. Right? I think we can get additional crews without that extra burden of cost. Right? But like I say, it's this isn't a hard and fast timeline and contract. It's more of a maximum upside. It needs to be.
Sorry, Don, just to clarify, so WorkSafe does not allow for people to work 7 days a week? I'm unsure what you're saying there.
If it's union, it's a different set of labor laws that we have to follow through with stuff. That's part of the question. You're only allowed to work so many days under a union or so many hours before it shifts to either time and a half or double, depending on the scenario and the position. That's some of the pieces we have to clear up. But if they have the crews available that aren't booked for those additional days, like you'd have to switch crews, that works for 7 days a week.
I might ask that council consider now putting forward a resolution to put an RFP in place for an additional operator to provide support to the recovery managers and to have some competition within the village, and perhaps have them on it maybe a 2-day-a-week work week. So this RFP goes out for Saturdays and Sundays. This urgency is being lost. I think that it would increase output as well to see other operators on site.
Okay, so are you wanting to put, so I need some support here from corporate on process here, because if you're looking to put in another motion or amend this motion.
I suppose it wouldn't make much sense, Mayor O'Connor, if the recovery directors and the recovery director and manager couldn't use that or give direction to those operators. So I'd like to hear more from Mike and Dawn if like what I know, Mike, you expressed that it would be challenging earlier, but what specifically makes it challenging to give another operator direction? Because I feel like somebody could be clearing dirt. The $7,000 in asbestos load that I'm aware of. So these numbers just seem so off the charts.
Which is directed to me. Okay, a couple of things. Number one, you're asking to bring on another contractor.
Pardon me? Oh, to bring on another contractor.
You're asking to bring on another contractor.
Yeah.
Which I suggest we're going out for an RFP.
I can't hear what you're saying, Mike.
Okay. Okay. So what I'm understanding is you're suggesting we go for an RFP for another contractor.
That's correct.
This.
Correct.
So we'll do 7 days.
Correct.
Okay. So we're going to be, as Don says, 2 or 3 months doing that process. In that same 2 to 3 months, we'll likely have this done as long as we don't get stopped. I mean, the two big time frame issues we've got that affect us. One is going through the KHC, which has the ability to have some influence, but we can also only go at the speed to get the zones approved by the Heritage Branch. So, but as soon as they're approved, we're going to keep going, and if we get a site cleared and we're ready to go. And we talk to Matcom and say, hey, you get guys on here Saturday and Sunday, more people on it. I mean, I'll be on it. We'll be doing that as much as we can, but I don't know stacking an additional person on it. It's, I like your earlier thoughts that we would encourage and direct the recovery managers to attempt to, that time is of the essence. Please proceed with this plan as fast as possible. Subject to limitations that you've got, but try to make this 7 days a week. Okay, I'm good with that because I mean, we're gonna have to have eyes on myself and Dawn. We'll split. One will be on the site 4 days, one will be on 3 days, and we'll make certain that it happens. I think that would be more successful than bringing on someone else 2 months from now.
Councillor Toss, oh, sorry, this is Don. May I jump in?
Go ahead, Don.
I have a question for Councillor Toss. Councillor, I just need clarification. Are you thinking we go, like, I'm just working out the logistics here. Are you thinking we don't do that work, we go to RFP instead for the extra 2 days?
No, I'm looking.
Or are you saying go forward, and as well as going forward, consider an RFP for additional works?
Absolutely, that's exactly the latter. I'm thinking also into the future and in 3-4 months as well, having somebody on site, perhaps, and in the interim, there's property, my understanding is property owners could choose to backfill their properties independently at this point. So if we had an operator on site and the dirt, that we could just move on with it, and our residents could use this operator as needed if MatCon wasn't where they needed to be. I just think it would be really nice to have a plan B and a.
I think that's a great idea.
Can I suggest that we finish this motion, and then after if you'd like to put a motion forward, Councillor Toss?
Yep.
Okay. So are there any other questions or comments about the motion that's on the floor?
Yes.
Yes, Councillor Toss.
What are the checks and balances in this contract? So are there like targets that are built into the contract? I haven't seen the contract. I don't know what it looks like. I don't think any of us have. So what kind of checks and balances are in place? And is there any sort of targets or expectations of how fast or how efficiently this is done? Because so far it has not been very efficient. We're still on those first 8 lots. I realize that's largely due to archaeology, but MatCon could be doing other things. Are they mobilized today? I'm not even sure. But I just loathe to keep handing out these blank checks with no competition.
I can answer that for you. The contracts that I've read, which are the ones that we've summarized here, don't have specific targets in place. I think the check and balance on that is that it's up to us, the staff, to manage these contractors when they're in the village and to ensure that we're getting the work that we're paying for, to ensure that it's happening 5 or 7 days a week, whatever the decision is there. And, we know Mike is now on site, I think at least 4 days, often 5 a week. And as he said, if we need to have Dawn come up to cover off another 2 days, or we have to do that another way, we will do that. If there's people working, we will be there to manage those contractors. That's the best check and balance that we can have.
All right, thank you. Are there any other comments or questions?
This is a difficult one for me to vote on because if we don't have competition, I would vote no for this. If the resolution, which I hope to introduce, goes forward, then I would vote yes for this. So it's a little tricky for me at this point. I don't know where I sit. I have to be honest.
Thank you.
Can I?
Yes, go ahead, Mike.
We want to be careful of saying we don't have competition. We did. We did phase 1, the initial backfill. We went out with three bidders, and the LFN MatCom, bid substantially less than the other 2, and we're using those same rates applied against this. So reasonable expectation, had we applied the same volume that first one, we would expect probably the same price.
I would wager that that part of the contract or the work that's been executed has not gone smoothly. So that's part of my reluctance to continue on with the same tract.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? I know for myself, you know, I looked at this motion and, you know, really we have a contract with LFN. Matt Kahn is LFN's subcontractor, if I've got this all straight in my head. So it only makes sense to me that that LFN deals with Matt Kahn, so we're not dealing with Matt Kahn separately. Yeah. So I hope I understand that right. That's the reason for this motion to come forward. Are there any other questions or comments? Councillor Lightfoot.
I'm going to speak in favor of this motion because I think staff has heard quite clearly that we want to see it expedited as quickly as possible. The Heritage Committee may be the stumbling block. Hopefully their concerns can be addressed, and I believe our recovery managers and our CAO understand that if we could at all have 7 days a week work happen with that, we'd all be happy. We've all been standing on the sidelines for over 2 years now, and we've been seeing nothing happen for far too long. So I think by passing this motion will allow it to get started, hopefully tonight or tomorrow morning.
Okay, are there any other Councillor Toss? Yeah.
Sorry, did I just hear correctly from Councillor Lightfoot that work is stopped until this contract is signed?
No, I'm just saying, I think we've made it loud and clear that we need to see some action, that none of us are happy campers at this point, and we just reflect the citizens. I mean, even coming across on the ferry this morning, comments from the ferrymen who don't even live in town are like, when are you guys going to get in there and get it done? There is impatience in all directions.
Councillor Toss.
Thank you. So just to be clear, so Matt Kahn is not working today?
I didn't serve. I'm sorry.
So for that reason only, I will not vote in favor of this.
No.
This is, why are we not?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay,
Mike's going to
really clear,
reply.
okay. Was the original stop work order put in place on those 8 lots? We've been working through a work plan. We're now have a modified work plan includes all of zone 1. So as soon as we get the KHC, we'll go to the meeting, which is tomorrow, and we assume we're getting approval to proceed, then we proceed with all of zone 1. Then we need this contract because the original contract was only for 8 lots. Yeah. We're asking MACCOM to do more than 8 lots now. We're asking to do all of zone 1, which is that extra amount is covered here. So it's not that we're stopped because we haven't done this, but if we get approval from approval from the Heritage branch to proceed. Without this, we can't proceed.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike, but I think you misunderstood my question. I fully understand that KHC has stopped our zone 2 and that we're revising our work plan. What I don't understand is with the operators on site, why they're not clearing dirt, why they're not watering trees, why they're not doing other things.
Yeah, so that would change the scope. That's right. And remember, where we are debating or talking about this this motion that's on the floor, which is
the fact that they're not working today, though. I need clarification. There's nothing else that could be done in the village without a work plan, Mike. Is that what I'm hearing? There's not one thing, not one operator, like use for an operator in the village that we have authority to do.
So we have public works doing a lot of those activities, watering the trees.
Yeah. So there's nothing that we can do for debris or backfilling.
We were making certain that the work that should be done by public works is being done by public works. The focus is on MACCOM is to do both the clearing the soil and the backfill. So those are the two basically activities we're asking them to do.
So you told me there was
There-
backfill, there was soil that was okay to be removed right now. You told us that there was, so why can't they be removing it?
There's soil on the roads right now.
Yeah.
which we marked last week with the archaeologists. So we've gone through to see which ones, we removed one batch already. We couldn't proceed any further. It was unclear whether we could actually remove that soil, would it actually have been tested. We walked through on when we had the archaeologists out here for the Ponderosa waterworks. We also walked the archaeology back through. So we're going to identify more soils that can be removed. Now we identified all but two spots that could be done, and we're now waiting on, we have to go back and check on those two. So we're waiting on, I assume I'm probably here today or tomorrow, likely they get removed. We'll mark those for removal. And then when we start executing this contract, it will both do the backfill and at the same time, they'll be removing those soils. But
So the short answer is there is no soil that MatCon is authorized to remove currently.
there are, I'm not going to say that because there are some that have been identified, but it doesn't make sense for you to do some. We might as well do it all because we're trying to figure out the rest of the soils in there. We assume we'll have that fixed in the next day or two.
It just
Okay,
seems.
so we have a motion on the floor regarding entering into a contract with Lytton First Nation. So I think I'm ready to call the question on the amended motion that was read out, not the one that's on the agenda. And so all those in favor of this motion? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, everyone. All right, so yeah, we have one more item which we've added on, which is item number 6.2. And so I will make a motion. What I'd like to do is make a motion that we hold a meeting, a special council meeting on September the 6th, Wednesday, September the 6th, regarding the temporary use permit that was removed from our previous council because of some glitches before our previous council meeting. And so we will hold a special meeting on September 6th to bring that back. Can I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Lightfoot, any questions regarding that? Councillor Lightfoot.
You may have stated it, but I missed the time you were hoping to have that scheduled for.
I didn't say the time, but
Okay.
hopefully if 1 o'clock works for everyone, we can do that.
Okay.
Okay. And are there any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
And carried, thank you.
Point of
All
order,
right.
Your Worship.
Pardon me?
Point of order. I believe we were going to discuss a potential resolution to be brought forward.
Oh, I apologize. You had said that. Yeah, I mean, that's right. After, we'll make it item 6.3. How's that?
Thank you very
Councillor
much.
Toss, I'll turn it over to you then.
I would like to put a resolution on the table for discussion and input on introducing some competition into the village via a RFP that can go out for an additional operator to assist and have a plan B moving forward with the soil and debris removal and backfilling, but in a more general sense, a tool of the village. And just as sort of an introduction to this resolution, my experience with operators are 4,000 a day is on the upside. That's a lot of money. That's with living out allowances. So with about, even with the $20,000 without authorization, without it going to RFP, that's a good 2 weeks of work. So can we look at introducing a some competition into the village via an RFP for an operator to assist with backfilling that would be under the direction of the recovery directors and manager.
So just so I'm clear, your resolution is to put forward an have the staff put forward an RFP for another contractor for the village.
For additional support within the village for
For
all
the back.
remediation. Can be very general.
Okay.
Hi, this is Don. Could I make one comment?
Yes.
Would that be okay?
Absolutely.
As you know, recovery folks or whatever, if I can make a suggestion, it would be, I think in the village's best interest to have not one, but a number of contractors made available. So instead of going to RFP, it might be a priority to do a request for qualifications. So we can have a list for folks, whether it's us or other folks within the area, have a pre-approved list of contractors that we can draw down upon to speed things up. That would make things a lot easier on so many fronts. It's because one of the struggles we do have are getting contractors on a timely basis that are available, right? So I wouldn't want to restrict it to just one, if that's okay, personally.
That's an excellent suggestion, so that you would then have a list of those you could call on. Diane, CAO Monbriquette.
Mayor O'Connor, could we get a seconder for Councillor Toss's motion before we discuss an amendment to it?
Yes, we sure can. Councillor Lightfoot seconds it.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so now we're discussing it.
I don't know if I would have said it quite like that. That was pretty verbose. I don't know how Alba handled that one, but
Councillor Lightfoot.
I would like to say I like Dawn's suggestion of just having a general call out for qualified contractors who would be interested in casual or more permanent work within the village of Lytton. I believe in the past, decades ago or whatever, there were a number of people that would be called in from time to time when special works or whatever happened. So it gives local contractors, small contractors, the opportunity to be on the list. So should the need arise, we can quickly call them. I think it would be a wise move to make.
Okay.
Mayor O'Connor, if I may step in, if you don't mind, just
Yes,
for
please.
process purposes. Thanks for catching that, Diane. I appreciate it. There's a bit of a lag with my computer today. Can I just read what I have so far for the
point
Yes.
of order.
Oh, sorry.
I'd like to withdraw that motion.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
in light of Dawn's comments and the way that could be expedited, and also what really interests me about Dawn's suggestion is that it wouldn't take the time of our stretched staff to put out an RFP and navigate that process. So I'm very sensitive to, I know how.
So you're going to withdraw.
I'm going to withdraw it.
Withdraw.
With the understanding that list can be compiled without a motion being put in place.
Is that correct, CAO Monbriquette? We don't need a motion then?
No.
That's correct. We can put that together and
Okay.
work premise.
Great.
For sure.
Thank you. Perfect. All right.
I think the essence is that we have an atmosphere of competition, and that there's the idea that other people can come in and help and when it's needed, and keeping that vibrancy going and like the movement in the village. So on a day like today, when there's no movement and there was something that could be moving, we can call in somebody to move something.
Thank you. Yeah, great.
Stagnancy.
Okay, so now that brings us to the end of the special council meeting. We're on to item number 7, which is adjournment. So who would like to make the motion to adjourn the meeting?
I will so move.
Thank you. And a seconder.
Seconded, Toss.
Great, thank you. The meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for attending our first meeting at the parish hall.
Woohoo!
Thank you to the public who
Thank
showed
you.
up.
Watermelon.
Okay, thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, just give it.
But we should have, or.
Thank you, everyone,
Still on
for
live.
attending today.